No, it's all of us. We kind of want to look at it. It looks like a hammerhead shark right now, but we kind of want to look at it from both sides. Look at our positioning. The eyes need to be rounder. But the eye sockets are quite crescent shaped. So, yep. Well, we'll just keep going. I mean, I could try at this late point. I guess it is only 10:15. If you want me to try to reset my router, I can. Quindy, David and I figured it out. So just let me know. So here, the brows up here are going to kind of go and make room for the beak. So I'm going to press those in. And again, once I get this set, I'm probably going to make it very rough and kind of blocky so that it looks like a statue. Okay, it does one more time. That's a deal. That sounds like a deal. Okay. And again, I kind of have got this stuck to the green stuff right now, which is great because then I can pry it off later. It is wet green, so I probably should check that. Well, it is wanting to stick to the green a little. Oh well, that's fine. If I have to, I can cut it right on top of the green because it's not going to cure, right? And then I can just like make sure that it'll match up and do a little green work to do it. But it's worth it, honestly, to have it just stuck here so I can sculpt it in place. So I'm not going to complain about it sticking to fresh green stuff at this point. I'm going to actually work with it. It's not a problem, it's a feature. Snort. Okay, well, since I pried it up there, now it doesn't want to stick down again. Dang it, Anne. Dang it, Anne. Here, I'm going to stick it. Stick down. Come on. You like cork. I'm convincing you. All right. Now I need to build out the beak shape. And yeah, you could use an armature. But I'm going to gamble on this stuff being, the beak being thick enough and this stuff being resilient enough. I'm just going to actually shape this a little bit with my hands until I get kind of a shape that I want to start with. Yeah, they squawk, don't they? Well, I mean, I have some ceramics class experience, right? And also I've been working with miniatures. The thing is, Richard, you can do that. And like, you know, that is cool and it's not a cheat. But the thing is, like, if you want to get better at sculpting, then it's advisable to try it, right? It's advisable to do it a bit. That's a long beak. But it is a pretty long head. So I think it's a little bit too long, so I'm going to chop it off a little bit. Boop. Chop it off. Let's see here. What can I do in place? Squeaky meeping noise. Also, remember, Richard, I'm not looking for a realistic eagle head here, so I'm looking to actually make it very blocky at the end. Yeah, this is where it's going to get a little floppy. So if I had the time, what I might do here is, I also need to chop that a little bit. There. What I might do here is actually bake the front here, and what I would probably do is put a little spur out to create an armature for my beak, and then sculpt off of that. And maybe I will end up doing that. So let's actually do that. Let's actually set that up. Because there's still some stuff I can do with my green down here, but we can set up our eagle head. So, and you can see this is not like a pro level sculpt or anything. It's just me blocking in shapes, really. So I'm going to actually trim off some of this little excess. And what I want more than anything right now is to make sure that my shapes are correct, at least that I have some leeway with the eyes. If I look at the front, is it symmetrical more or less? So if I'm doing it this way, then I'm going to treat all of this as an armature for further sculpting on top. I'm just wanting to get the shape of the head and make it more or less, give it some symmetry on both sides. There are times I just honestly find it easier to sculpt with clay than with green, and so on occasion I have gone off and done that sort of thing. All right, so eyeball, eyeball, a little bit more cut up here. Pretty deep eyeballs, pretty rounded. And yeah, okay, so now I want a spur of stuff. I could use a wire, but a wire is really thin. I could use a wire with green on it. That might be advisable. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Where's my wire? The uncoated wire. So you have a lot of options, essentially. Veronica. Do you have a kneeling chair, Richard? Kneeling chairs can help. That's what I'm using a kneeling chair right now. I try to switch it up between my standing desk, my kneeling chair, and my regular chairs. Sometimes with a back support cushion, sometimes with not with one. Switch it up. All right, I'm going to grab some green here, or some wire here. We'll essentially sink a wire into this, because I believe we can bake it with a wire in it. Should have no problem. But this lady, I mean, I originally wanted to put an eagle kind of design on her shield, but then I decided I liked the comet design that I found instead, but still, celestial and airy kind of stuff. Alrighty. Give me green. I am going to just get a little bit of green and stick it around this this wire. Get my phone off the thingy, because we're working. Overall, though, I like the texture of this cosplay. Essentially, what it looks like is it's got kind of a slanted seat. It's low to the ground, Agent Marvel. And then it's got pads for you to kneel on. So as you sit on the seat, your legs go down and you kneel on the pads. It essentially encourages you to keep a better posture. And then your feet are kind of like, yeah, it's like you're kneeling on, instead of kneeling on the ground, you're kneeling with your pads. It's like halfway up, so you're kind of like this. Like it's a shape like that where your feet are coming down and then you're up here. So yeah, it's a lower to the ground chair. Yeah, I mean, give it a try. I found one that I liked. I actually stole David's because it was lower to the ground. All right, so we're sticking the green onto the end of this. And then we're going to kind of try to get a beak shape out of it. And remember, we can carve our green afterwards, so it's not a big deal. Now, probably have to, that's not bad actually. Let me look at my ratios here. I may need to move the eyes a little. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to be all of that. His beak is his beak's a little long. I need to snip off part of it. Snip. But yeah, I mean, you can always use any of this stuff to build up an under armature and then sculpt more over the top of it, right? That's better. That's better. More of a teardrop shape. I want to squeeze it a little bit at the top. Oops, my eagle. I lost my eagle. There it is. And of course, we're going to have a lot more coming down, a lot more material here, but I just want the right kind of proportion and look. And I don't want that to mound up, and I don't want that to be too fat, so I might need to twist around a little bit. I think I'm going to cut this up a little. But yeah, but this is why you always want, there. This is why you always want to be working from a picture if you can. Do they do tall ones? They do taller ones, but they don't, you can't have a kneeling chair that's the same height as a regular chair in most cases because you're kneeling and you have to be able to put your feet on the floor to still support yourself. Because you're mostly, it's kind of a combo of supporting yourself with your butt, your knees, and your feet on the floor. And you gotta like have everything integrated, otherwise you're just gonna be off balance. Like, it's not gonna be good for your skeletal muscular system, in my opinion. But hold on, I'm gonna flatten this beak out a bit. But yeah, but you can see if I didn't have a photo reference, I'd kind of be up a creek. Like, I would not be getting the shape right from memory for sure. Yeah, if you're just, if you're sculpting it to put it on a model, yep. Yeah, you can use anything. I need a knife or something here. That's too high up. Now, I probably don't need to mark out the mouth much anyway, since I'm going to be sculpting over this, most likely. Flatten it out. Trying to make it very wedge-shaped, like it would be. Not too fat. Mostly flat on the top. It's obviously going to have a little bit of that thing. We can do that later with green. What I really want is this nice curve. And I can sharpen up the tip of the beak later. And I've got the chin. Looks like a parrot beak right now, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. I made the lower jaw a little bit too big. Probably needed a bit longer. Just trying to get my underlying structure right. And I can always shave this shave off. The green is soft, so I can use a knife and shave off of it if I need to. If I come back to this and, oh, my wire wants to come through the beak. Not good. Not good. Yeah, no, I lost that. There we go. My chair does not have wheels or rockers. It is a solid kneeling chair. Hi, Trojan. It has feet. It sits on feet, so legs. Also, Trojan, since I now have all of you here in the chat, all you people who are going to get copies of my book, the book is... I went through all the book yesterday, but now I have a short list of little things that I still need to change because that's the kind of thing I do is I make all my basic edits, and then as I walk, usually as I'm walking, because walking is thinking time for me, I'll come up with, oh, I really need to adjust that, or oh, I need to change that, or oh, that doesn't make as much sense as it could. So I will be going back at my book today to make those last bit changes. Then I need to go through my manuscript for formatting. Well, I'm going to save this picture. I think I'm going to just do a screenshot of it. There. That way I can save it for later. But I need to essentially go through and format the Word doc so that I can import it into my program to make it look good, look like a real book, essentially. Then I need to actually import it to that program and check to make sure everything looks good. And then I need to export it. You guys, there will be chapter names, but I haven't done them yet. I'm not going to do them yet. So you guys will just have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, etc. But anyway, tonight should be when you get it. You will get the doc. You will get, Turgeon, do you prefer a PDF? Is a PDF okay? What I find is that I can't use the kneeling chair exclusively, but what it does work for me is switching it up, right? Making sure that I'm not sitting in the same position all day. So I try to switch up the kneeling chair and then the sitting chair, normal chair, and then the standing desk, and then sitting again at night. But usually I have a support pillow. Yeah, so yeah, you should get it tonight unless it might take me really long today. It depends on if I don't have any interruptions or not. Okay, so I just want to make sure this is stuck right. Okay, I'm okay with this shape. I'm okay with this narrowness. I'm probably going to want to carve it down a bit. But I'm okay with the length, and especially once I have the rest of the eagle down here. I might cut a little bit more of this off, but for now, it's good. It's pretty good from above. Again, I'm going to sculpt over some of this, so it'll be all right. That's decent. All right, so we have beak. We have beak. All right, cool. Beak can actually kind of sit there to rest while I put the rest of this on. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted with her. I wanted something at the front that would be more interesting and would suggest, and I'll essentially sculpt this more like rock, and it'll blend more in as we go. But I mean, this is how rough you start, right? This is how rough I start. When I've started out with sculpting something, it's going to be really hacked together at the beginning. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to make it better. It's the same thing with rough drafts. It's the same thing with paint jobs when you're just blocking in stuff. This is my blocking in. I want my shapes roughly in place. I want some bulk that I can build off of. And then once I bake this little head, I can socket the beak in. It'll be set by then. And then I can work everything else with green if I want to. So, yes. You're in chapter 4 or so. That's okay. If you have not finished my book, I still forgive you and I still love you. It's so good. It's good. You don't have to. Like, I love it if you finish my book and you like it. I love it and I beg you. That's okay. I mean, the best thing you can do, Hyper and everybody else, is that when you finish it, no matter when you finish it, please leave a review. That's what I really need right now, is I need reviews. We need to go over 20. That would be my big happy. If once we get over 20, I can relax a little bit. For both 1 and 2. Of course, book 2 will take a little bit to get there, just like book 1 did. But okay, so I'm not too unhappy with this. I'm not too. Yeah. So right away, the cool thing is you can hold it up and you're like, okay, right away, I can see that I need to have the beak tilted a little bit more upright. Or I need to sculpt it a little bit more that way. But it's probably easier to just tilt it. And to get it to the point where it's close. It's close. Boop. Make its little hook go down. But it's close. So, all right. I can see what I need to do. Great. Awesome. All right, so we've got some nice eagle pictures. We can put that away. We're going to let our eagle sit. I don't think she's an elf. I think she's a human. I'm pretty sure this character is a human. Yeah, it depends on how angly they are in our, and it depends on which one you've got. Like, I've got one where my legs are definitely down more, but the one that I have, David's that I stole, which is metal, was much more longer front to back, I guess. But yeah, what David does is he always uses a normal computer chair, like when he's gaming or working, but he switches to a kneeling chair for hobbying because he finds that it makes him keep his back straighter when he's like doing his kind of like, you know, he still hunches over, but it's not quite as bad as like his whole back going. So yeah. So it can help. It can help. It can help just because it changes like your balance and your posture a bit. It can help to your body not like totally lock into what it's used to. It may hurt your back at first when you're getting used to it because your core is doing more work. You're not leaning back into a back set. You don't have anything that's holding your back up. So be ready for your back to ache. But aching is different. Like aching is different from sharp pain, right? So you gotta if you decide to try one, expect your back to ache afterwards because it's doing work, right? But that's part of what you need to do probably is to strengthen core. So. All right, I'm going to put my glasses back on, just kind of look at this beak. See, I'm probably going to have to carve a little bit, but I'm going to stop mucking with the beak. Enough mucking with the beak. And so essentially this is my armature, and I'm going to skin over the top of it when we next return to this model. You don't need to, Polly, and you shouldn't. That's why the green stuff is on the wire. I can just pull the beak right out and bake the little head. Yeah, green stuff cures on its own, but Fimo and Sculpey and Cosplay you have to bake. But this is such a tiny part, it's going to bake in no time at all. All right, green stuff. I'm going to use my remaining green stuff to put some texture. And it really depends here. Like, if I wanted this to be, like, up in the air, I'd probably want to add to the stones here more clunky and just make these edges go down more. Like, if I want to make this look like ground, I'm going to use very little texture. If I want it to appear as if she's on the top of a promontory, then I need to put bigger chunks of stone, just like all of these around her. So we will see what we can do. I might not quite have enough green stuff for that. It's the curse of green stuff. Either you have way too much or you don't have enough, and then you have to mix more up, and then you have way too much. It's the way it happens. That said, since you asked about baking green, at a certain temperature, green will blister. But cured green can stand a lot of heat and pressure, though, Polly. That's how you make molds from green models. It's hundreds of degrees and quite a lot of pressure, or even it's bakey. It's very bakey. I forget what temperature a vulcanizer gets to. I never did that part of tours. I could do a paint department tour. That's about it. Yeah, I'm not going to have enough green to do rock solid over here. I might have to just get some cork out for the other side. But yeah, once green stuff is cured, I could just put this whole thing in the oven. The oven is not going to be nearly enough to probably blister cured green. I can't imagine it would if a vulcanizer doesn't. That's part of why green stuff was used for sculpting, is that it could withstand the heat of vulcanization as long as you had an armature on it and you didn't use super glue. Yeah, use it as an understructure for clay, yeah. Yeah, so make sure that it's cured right. Because if you put too much heat on green, my understanding is if you put too much heat on green before it's cured, you end up with blistered green. Am I right there, Julie? It'll get blisters. I'm trying to remember from all the things I was ever taught at Reaper. I'm just going to make these look a little different here. Yeah, of course not. No plastic bases or figs, right? Air expansion, okay. I am just making little shapes right here. And I probably do want to get out a piece of cork, which is easy because I have pieces of cork all around me. Depends on the temperature. Ambient temperature, I think, is the biggest, and whether you mixed more green or more yellow or more blue into it, Twisted Oma. I leave it at least an hour. For hard cure, I'd leave it overnight just because. But it probably just a few hours, I would imagine, right, Julie? Like it. Again, it depends if you put it under a very mild heat source. You can accelerate the cure. 24 hours or next day. Yeah, but it does depend. It depends on how warm it is where you are. Getting some cork in here. Cork, 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 cork. So just putting some rough cork texture into these and smushing them a bit. And now I'm going to kind of work this into this bigger piece of cork so that it just looks like a continuation of this one. Once it's all painted, it's so easy to fool the eye with this. And this one I can blend into this shelf of rock here. But yeah, so essentially by the time we get back to this model, I'll have everything set. So just blending this cork in here. I need to get my silicone tool. Where are you, clay shaper? Oh no, did I put it in the other room? I may have put it in the other room. No, I need my clay shaper. Oh no. Pretty sad. Pretty sad. So sad. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else here I can use, really. Dang it. I'll use leaf tool. Yeah, no clay shapers here. I must have taken them into the other room. Where is Julie's leaf tool? There it is. Alrighty. So I'm using the leaf tool, but be careful because the cork is going to get some water on it. So I'm going to get my shape and leave it. And I'll blend this in over here. So however I can blend this green work into the rocks that I already have, it'll help disguise the green work. Man, the birds are just yelling at each other out there today. Loud bird day. So then we got that. We can work this rock into this little area over here. Make it part of the sky. Yeah, don't put it in a microwave, right? Yeah, you can put it under a warm light bulb, but that's about the heat. That's only like just a little bit of extra heat. If you don't have a warm light bulb because you're all like LED, then you're oh well. Then you're stuck waiting. But if you still own one of those weird things known as an incandescent light, at a smaller wattage, you could use that. There we go. That's good. Get that in there. So we've disguised this side, made it very chunky and nicely. There is a little nook in here, so if I want to put some other cool artifacts in there, I could. And then over here, I am almost out of green. So let's grab some cork bits. Plenty of cork bits, gosh knows. Yeah. I mean, probably. I don't see why not. It's just a slightly different way of working. It's a slightly different texture. It's more, it's less flexible, Lisana, so you might find it harder to make rounded forms with the milliput. Green is really nice that way in that it's kind of spongy in a way. It springs back. So it's really good for like rounded things in my experience. So like for the beak, you could do milliput with this stuff, absolutely. Milliput instead of green. I just have green, I don't own milliput. Maybe I should get some milliput. Maybe I should give milliput a second chance. I was always kind of annoyed with it in the old days. I didn't like it. You're back. All right, so we're getting some chunks out. Chunks, that's a big chunk. That is not small enough. Essentially me keeping all the little fragments of my basing from other times has now paid off. So we will be able to use these. This one's kind of the right shape. Okay. So dig out a few little chunks. Yeah, and make sure you use the right milliput for the right need, yes. Because some of them are pretty coarse. It's the super fine, I think. Like the fine grain, because it can be pretty grainy, as I recall. That's why I didn't like it. Like I never encountered the really fine grained milliput, which is more like Abe's, I think. But yeah, green has a certain elasticity, which is what makes it so good for rounded organic forms like human faces. Has a certain tension to it that helps with that, and a clay does not have that. All right, eagle beak and this stuff. I could just put down some glue and sprinkle some of this little fine stuff down there. But I think I want a bigger shape, so kind of looking at the shapes I've got, and this shape is very promising, this one right here. So if I stab it and I plop it over on the side here, need to be careful not to impact any of my other wet green, it actually fits pretty well down here. I need to chop part of it off, so I can do that. I can chop off this part. Or I can just like use the tip of my blade to kind of score it off, which is more natural. Going to give me a more natural rock form underneath it. And I'm going to take the end off of this one. And I'm going to see if it's narrow enough to work. At this point, this model is fraught because there we go. Yeah, okay, so I can glue that in, and then I can come back and just chunk off some of these other parts with my knife after it's all set. Get that part off though. So let us grab my gel super glue, which is better for cork. Why can't you, Major Arsenabal? Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm working with clay for basing stuff. You just wait till we start the muscling base. Yeah, so does Abe's. Abe's does that same thing. It makes a slurry with water. So it's a good gap filler for really fine stuff. Oop. But yeah, cosclay and Sculpey and Fimo all feel a lot like traditional clay. Sander scrape it, yeah, just make sure it's well cured, yeah. And I'm going to pop this in here. It fits really well, actually. And I'm going to just press it down. Try not to get my knife sunk just too deep into that. Good. You can see that I've got a little bit projecting over the side here, but that's okay. I can come back and scrape that off once the glue is set. And I'm going to leave that little bit of black rim, I think, because I want it to seem like she's up high. I think I will give the head ears like a griffin, but I'll wait until I get the rest of the sculpting. Like, as I do the sculpting over the top, I'll use the rock shelf behind her to make ears so we can do a griffin. I like griffins. Griffins were possibly my favorite mythical beast. One of them. Yeah, I use Aves a lot until it, be aware that it can age out and not cure anymore. Hyper Bunny, I had that happen with an old thing of Aves, and it kind of screwed up a model for me. So it definitely has a freshness on it, just like green, and it can have issues curing when it gets old. Well, that's why you don't use that clay, Major. You use air dry, or you use cosclay or super sculpey or Fimo. I mean, this stuff feels a lot like regular clay. Now, cosclay is like definitely more expensive than like super sculpey or professional Fimo, but I mean, I speak as somebody who has worked in art classes with ceramics. It feels maybe a tiny bit more plasticky, but it feels really close to clay. And you can do anything, like any shapes, and if you're like into sculpting, oh, you've got Milliput. Milliput is, similar-ish. Yep. Yeah, he mixes Aves and green. Uh-huh. But I mean, you could, Major, if you're used to doing clay really intricately, I mean, I guess if you had if you don't have a kiln, then it's a moot point. But if you have access to somewhere with a kiln, you could absolutely sculpt faces for your figures. I mean, just like I did this guy, this old thing that I clomped together with the tree. And this is just like, I would have to go over it with green to make it better. I was just putting in rough shapes so that I could use it as an armature. But I mean, this is absolutely doable in fired clay. I mean, I don't know that I would, because I feel like the polymer clays are stronger and less prone to breakage. Yeah, I just wanted to alert you so if it did it, you wouldn't be like, taken aback. But it definitely does get old. All right, and hey, the great thing about cosclay is, guess what? I can just use this next time, or I can use it for something else in the meantime. Cause yay, it's cosclay, and it's not gonna cure. It's just gonna sit around and be clay. Yay, that's a nice thing. I have huge blocks of this stuff. I really need to do something fun with it. I'll just blob it back onto there. That is the nice thing, is that even if I paid a bunch of money for this cosplay, I have, considering that I only do small stuff, I have enough to like last me for a long time. Green stuff, which is not clay. Maybe Aves, Major. The problem is you need to get it to stick to the model, and the reason that we all like green stuff for that sort of thing, for conversions. Oh, good point. Green users, fired clay does shrink. But the reason we all like green for conversions is that it sticks, right? It's sticky. So it will stick to the model, and it helps, like, it helps when you're trying to do extra details or stuff on a mini. So either green stuff or Aves. And Aves is not nearly as sticky. So yeah, it's kind of like, it depends on what you're trying to do, Major. Like, with clay on a mini, give me an example. What would you be doing? Oh, Carnico. But yeah, Major, if you can give me an example, then I can. Huh, weird, Carnico. Didn't know that. Never heard that. PVA glue is just a weird. PVA glue is just weird. It's just a weird compound. So versatile, who knew? Yeah. Like for me, Abe's was more like making it into a slurry for a gap filler. Um, I found that I didn't like when I was trying to put a different head onto a figure. I actually tried to use Abe's. I didn't like it as much as green. So, but I mean, the best thing you can do is just try a bunch of different stuff. Major. When you're trying to do something. All right. So I'm going to have to cut the little head off of... I'm going to let this sit though, because I can always cut the little head off of the green stuff that it's kind of probably stuck to at this point. And again, since there's just going to be like rocks and snow and I'm just sculpting stuff out here, it doesn't matter if my cosplay cures a little bit to my green. But yeah, and don't be afraid if your stuff looks clumsy. Like my eagle head looks totally clumsy right now, like absolutely totally clumsy and childish. But don't worry, it'll get better. I mean, with sculpting, for me, like that fear factor of it looking terrible and horrible and like a 5-year-old did it is there, but I understand that I have time to work these things, and that if I just give myself the time and I have a good reference and I'm patient, I can get there, right? I can get there. So yeah, proper ratios. Yep. I'm just gonna kind of look at the eyeballs here. I feel like this eyeball needs to be more up. And this needs to be fixed a little. So I'm just comparing the two and trying to match them up a little at this point. Gotta make my eyeballs similar here. And I'll help. Bulking everything out will be good. But yeah, alright. I think that's all I can do right now. I might be able to claw away this cork now. It's probably set. So just using the tip of my knife, I'm just going to take little bits of that cork off until it's equal to the edge of my base. Until it's even. There. I can probably take a little more off if I wanted to. And that's the nice thing with cork is you can just, like with little patience, you can just crumble tiny bits away until it is exactly what you need it to be. There we go. Nice and tight. You can see it, just perfect. Excellent. All right, so at least we got all of our areas that we needed to make more rough and rocky have been made more rough and rocky. And we got to start on the eagle head, which I'm going to let sit pretty much for the rest of today until I cut it off and go to bake it. And yeah, that's where we are right now. The eagle's head's going to be pretty big, but from this angle, which I think is the angle I want her best viewing angle. We'll see. That might be a little bit too much beak, but I can cut it off. I can cut parts of it off. So I can always shorten it if I need to, because the head is projecting quite a bit here, but she's also there. So yeah, we'll see. I may change gears. Who knows? If I don't like it, the nice thing about this, guys, is if I don't like it, I just pull it off and drop it. Like, I just leave it. I can always, like, just sculpt over the parts of the putty that may be cured onto the green. And it'll be fine and I can start over with something different. So if I do come up with an animal or something and I decide I don't like the eagle head anymore, then I can just, go that way. I don't need to commit to this. I can kind of like look at it. I may just shorten the beak up. The beak does need to be shorter. So once I shorten it up, I may find that it's good. And we'll need to add vegetation. We'll need to make sure she's the lightest, brightest thing on the mini. The snow will be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot more stuff I can put on this. So, all right, that's where we are. And tomorrow, we will be back. Oof. On Angry Link, who we gave his stunning silver hair last time. Yeah, so Richard and Turgeon and Zachariah expect to get my book by tonight, or if not, I'll email y'all and let you know that there will be a small delay, just in case I don't get everything done today, because it is quite a load. But I'm committed. I'm committed to getting that book to you. Sweet. Alrighty. Yeah, I think I'm thinking about his shield. I'm trying to. Oh, that's right. I green stuffed his hair too. You guys didn't. So I green stuffed that in last time, so we can recolor that today or tomorrow. And I need to decide what I'm doing to the green, the dark green. I want it to go darker before it goes lighter. I want to keep it pretty dark. So I'll have to think about. Maybe we'll shade it with some purple, because I really do love shading green with purple, and I haven't done it for a long time on the stream. So we will maybe do that. So that's for tomorrow. Thank you all for tuning in. Oh, big yawn. Obviously, I needed more sleep last night. Quindy, thank you for herding cats as always. And yeah, I hope you all. Yesterday's exit with the attacking Kiki. It just came to mind. I had to laugh. Oh yes, buy some minis. That always makes everybody feel better. Yes, major thanks. Thanks for everything. Thank you for hanging out home tomorrow all day. Well, great. Then I got to get you the book, right, Turgeon? Because you'll have time. All right. Have a great one, everybody, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.